Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly break down how Arsenal's left side dominated the tactical battle against Ancelotti's Everton. But when we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have Arsenal in a 4-2-3-1, and we do see Everton in a 4-4-2 dropping off into two banks of four. So when you have Everton dropping off into two banks of four, what you end up seeing from Arsenal's attacking structure is a bit of variance. You have Nketiah adopting a role ahead of the center backs, looking to occupy them to create space for the players in behind him. You had Mesut Ozil not really receiving the ball between the lines, but he was shifting out into a deeper right-sided zone, and it did see some variety in Arsenal's ability to attack down that right-hand side. But in regards to Ozil's impact in central zones, we would see him drop off a bit deeper, and it would give Arsenal a 3v2 advantage in that midfield. But what we would see from Everton here is that they adapted very well. So when Ozil tried to drop off deeper, for instance, we would see Schneiderlin step into his path, and then we'd have a Iwobi shift over to cover Xhaka. And if it did apply on the other side where we had a Iwobi looking to close down Kolasinac or Saka, then what we would simply see here is that we'd have the midfielders shift across to cover their players, so that Schneiderlin sticking to Xhaka and Delph sticking into the path of Ceballos, and we'd have Sigurdsson drop off a bit narrow to ensure that Ozil can't get on the ball. So that's how they look to cope with that threat, and it was successful, which is why Ozil often drifted out into the right channel to try and get on the ball and create from that aspect. In the past few games, you've normally seen Nicolas Pepe adopt a right touchline role and Bellerin not looking to get forward. But here with Ozil dropping off a bit deeper ahead of Sigurdsson, you would see Pepe in a bit more of a narrow role ahead of Holgate, and that would allow Bellerin to push forward to attack Baines. There were also times where Ozil dropped off a bit deeper into that zone and stayed ahead of Baines, and that's when you'd see Bellerin possibly looking to make underlapping runs ahead of Sigurdsson into that right half space zone. But nonetheless, if Ozil wasn't drifting into those spaces, then you would see something similar, and sometimes you have Pepe adopting that wide touchline role with Bellerin making the underlapping run, or vice versa, where Pepe would drift in a bit narrow and then allow Bellerin to try and get forward. We didn't see much productivity down that side, but it was key that we did see something different from Arsenal, rather than solely focusing on the left-hand side. With Bellerin looking to push forward, that is key, and hopefully Mikel Arteta will be looking to form some sort of partnership and combination between Pepe and Bellerin in the future. But then in the midfield zone, we have Xhaka against Schneiderlin and we have Delph against Ceballos. But rather than receiving the ball in that central zone where they can attract pressure, they look to drop off a bit deeper to get on the ball, as you did have Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin looking to step forward to try and close down Mustafi and David Luiz. So you have those two players trying to get on the ball and not looking to step into Everton's half to ensure that they can't play penetrative passes. So that means that the left-hand side was pivotal. We end up seeing Aubameyang ahead of Sidibe, and there were times where he was positioned in between Mina and Sidibe trying to make runs in behind, and that creates space for Kolasinac to push forward to try and peg back Iwobi. But Arsenal's threat down that left-hand side didn't significantly increase until we saw Saka pushing forward to peg back Iwobi, and that's when we saw Xhaka drift into that left channel role in a deeper position to ensure that if Saka does lose possession, he does offer cover. So you have Saka pegging back Iwobi, you have Aubameyang looking to break him behind Sidibe and Mina, and frankly, that was Arsenal's key route to goal. So when we look to the first example, we see all the key elements in Arsenal's attacking build-up that harmed Everton here. We end up seeing Ceballos drop off a bit deeper to receive the ball from David Luiz, and Ceballos picks up the ball beyond the Everton strikers and he looks to push forward. So like I said, when you have Xhaka and Ceballos dropping off a bit deeper, they were looking to stay away from the pressure of Delph and Schneiderlin, but they also knew that Schneiderlin and Delph were looking to ensure that Everton were compact and kept their shape. So what we end up seeing from Ceballos here is that he picks up the ball and he looks to push forward. You have Nketiah ahead of the center backs, you have Holgate occupying Ozil, and you have Pepe wide. So what you see Ceballos doing here is that without Schneiderlin or Iwobi pressing, he's able to play a defensive splitting pass to bypass Schneiderlin and Iwobi and Mina and Sidibe for Aubameyang running off the Everton right back. And as he breaks in towards goal, Sidibe does a very good job of tracking the run and making a last-ditch tackle to ensure that Aubameyang can't test Pickford. And when we look to the 2 goals that Arsenal scored in that first half, they all stemmed down the left-hand side from those key elements. Initially, you have Ceballos dropping off ahead of Richarlison to slide the ball out to Xhaka, and Schneiderlin doesn't look to step to close him down. And when Xhaka pushes forward towards half, he locates Saka running off Iwobi, and you have Aubameyang ahead of Sidibe. So what Xhaka does is that he plays the ball across Iwobi to Saka, and before Sidibe can push out to try and close him down, we have Saka playing a ball across Sidibe and Mina to find Nketiah darting in between the center backs to direct a superb effort past Pickford. But as you can see, down that left-hand side, Saka pushing forward and getting beyond Iwobi, Aubameyang dragging markers out with him, and then it allows Saka to deliver a quality cross into Nketiah, making an intelligent run into the box. And Aubameyang's first goal of that game followed a similar pattern. You had Mina winning the ball over Nketiah into the path of Ceballos, and before Calvert-Lewin could try and take the ball away from Ceballos, he slid the ball out to David Luiz, who was able to push forward towards half with no pressure. And once again, he splits Iwobi and Sigurdsson and Mina and Sidibe for Aubameyang running off Sidibe. And Aubameyang breaks free on goal, and this time he makes no mistake and curls his effort past Pickford. But as you can see in that first half, Arsenal had a clear path to goal down that left-hand side, with Saka taking up more adventurous positions ahead of Iwobi, Aubameyang looking to run in behind Sidibe, and Xhaka, Ceballos, and David Luiz being able to pick up the ball in those deeper zones and push forward towards half before playing penetrative passes, because they knew Everton valued their shape rather than stepping out to close down the Arsenal ball player. Meanwhile, in terms of Arsenal's defensive shape, they did concede 2 goals from poor set-piece defending, where David Luiz was culpable in both situations, and you could say poor marking across the field in that box was pivotal. But in regards to their open play defending, we would see them drop off into 2 banks of 4. You'd have Nketiah looking to close down Holgate or Mina, and Ozil looking to step to the spare man. But there were times in particular where we did see Ozil sitting on Schneiderlin, and if the ball got shifted out into the path of Mina, he would push. And that's when you'd expect Xhaka to step into the path of Schneiderlin to close him down, given the fact that they do have that 3v2 in midfield. However, he didn't do that, and when he didn't step into the path of Schneiderlin, it would allow Schneiderlin to get on the ball in that deeper zone, and he constantly looked to play passes into the path of Richarlison, who was dropping off a bit deeper. But luckily for Arsenal, Mustafi always tracked those runs, and you either conceded a foul or won the ball off the Brazilian. But that's how Everton looked to approach the game. They had Richarlison dropping off to offer some sort of overload and a passing option in midfield. You had Calvert-Lewin looking to break into those channels, and out in the wider zones, you would end up seeing Sigurdsson look to drift centrally across the field to create space for Leighton Baines to push forward. And when he did that, he would often take up positions ahead of Dani Ceballos, and that would see Fabian Delph drop off a bit deeper as cover for Baines pushing forward, which is something we saw similar with Saka and Xhaka down Arsenal's left-hand side. So you have Delph dropping off into that zone, and you end up having Baines pushing forward to attack Bellerin. Arsenal handle this in 2 different scenarios. We would see Pepe look to step into the path of Delph, and if the ball got pushed beyond him, then you track back to look and close down Baines. And there was a time where we did see Mesut Ozil shift across the pitch to close down that threat as well. So that's how they looked to attack down that left-hand side. Sigurdsson was shifting central to ensure Baines could push forward and try and help Everton dictate that center of the pitch. And down the right-hand side, we would see Iwobi looking to shift in between Aubameyang and Xhaka to allow Sidibe to push forward and attack Saka, knowing the fact that Aubameyang doesn't like to track back to protect his left backs. And coincidentally, that did lead to the build-up to Everton's second goal. You had Mina pushing forward from center back, and as Ozil looked to get across him, you were able to see Mina split Xhaka and Aubameyang to find Iwobi ahead of Saka. And when he received that ball ahead of Saka, he was able to push it into the path of Sidibe breaking forward. And although Aubameyang did react and track back well, he was able to make a tackle that conceded the corner kick that Everton eventually did convert from. So when you assess that first half, it was clear that Arsenal were the better side and they had a key advantage down that left channel. And frankly, Everton were solely in the game based off Arsenal's inability to successfully defend set pieces. So when we look to the second half, we're expecting Ancelotti to shift his tactics to ensure that Everton could cope down that flank, but within minutes, Everton did concede once again. It stemmed from a simple 50-50 battle between Ceballos and Sigurdsson that fell to Xhaka, and Xhaka was able to split Delph and Sigurdsson to find Ozil drifting into that right channel. No surprise. Ozil slides the ball out into the path of Pepe ahead of Baines, and the issue that Everton have here is that Baines allows Pepe to cut in, and even before Pepe does cut in, we already have Aubameyang goal side of Sidibe. So now when you have Pepe cutting in, he delivers a cross into the box, and we have Nketiah making another intelligent run to take out Mina and Holgate, more specifically Mina, who possibly could have headed the ball away. And because Nketiah does make that run in between the center backs, it takes Mina out of the game and it allows Aubameyang to get his header beyond Sidibe past Pickford. Arsenal's third goal did force Everton to make some changes. We did see Bernard come on for Iwobi, and we saw Andre Gomes return to replace Schneiderlin. So clearly Everton were adding more attacking impetus to their play. But when you break down that second half and you see how both sides are able to get chances, Arsenal struggled to create from open play, and the only real legitimate chance they did create following that third goal was when Nketiah was able to hit the crossbar following their high press that forced Sigurdsson to give up the ball. But when they did get into good areas, Ozil was starting to get runners, both the wide players and the fullbacks, into good positions, but they lacked that final touch and final ball to get into Everton's box. Nonetheless, besides Lucas Torreira replacing Ceballos for more defensive cover in that midfield, Everton's two quality chances from open play did stem through long balls over the top. The first one had Bellerin a bit higher, and he tried to play a pass around the Everton box, and it was taken out. And what we ended up seeing was Holgate clipping a ball into that right channel to allow Richarlison to run at Mustafi. And as he took on Mustafi, he located Calvert-Lewin running across David Luiz, but Calvert-Lewin couldn't connect with that low cross. And later on in that half, we saw something similar. This time Andre Gomes dropping off to pick up the ball from Pickford. And this time, before Ozil could get across to close down Gomes, we ended up seeing Sigurdsson drop off to pull out Bellerin, and Gomes play a long ball into that left channel once again, Richarlison against Mustafi, and an identical play where we see Calvert-Lewin running across David Luiz, but once again unable to make connection with the ball in the 6-yard box. And those are two identical moves where Bellerin's caught out, and they get Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin to run at the center backs, but they're unable to make Arsenal pay. Everton's last roll of the dice did see Moise Kean come on for Delph, which pushed Richarlison to the left-hand side and Sigurdsson into a central role. And Mikel Arteta countered that by sacrificing Ozil for Guendouzi and pushing back Arsenal into a 4-5-1 without the ball. We didn't see much progression in Everton's attacking play, despite them getting into good positions following that tactical change. When you break down that game as a whole, Arsenal did show signs of vulnerability throughout Mikel Arteta's setup. They struggled to defend set pieces, and in that second half, it was clear that Ancelotti wanted Everton to attack space in beyond Bellerin by getting the forwards to run at the center backs, and they created two quality chances that Calvert-Lewin should have converted. Nonetheless, Arsenal's dominance in that first half was down the left-hand side, and it played crucial in their best chances and in all 3 goals that they scored, and that's why Mikel Arteta edged the battle against Ancelotti here. But let me know what you guys think. Are Arsenal still capable of catching Chelsea for that final top 4 spot? And what about Everton? Is Carlo Ancelotti the right man for them long term? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And once again, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.